Did you know that Henry VIII, the man infamous for his 6 marriages, might have had more wives than history remembers? Secret wives, hidden from the public eye, concealed within the dark corners of royal history. The bloodshed, the betrayal, the manipulation, this story could rewrite everything you thought you knew about the Tudor dynasty. It's a history drenched in scandal, power, and the ruthless pursuit of legacy. What if there was more to Henry VIII's marriages than the grand, theatrical stories we've all been told? What if, buried beneath layers of royal deceit and political maneuvering, there are even more forbidden unions than the world has ever known? This is the world of Henry VIII, one of England's most notorious monarchs, whose reign was defined by his marriages and his quest for a male heir. Henry's 6 wives, Catherine of Aragon, Anne Boleyn, Jane Seymour, Anne of Cleves, Catherine Howard, and Catherine Parr, are infamous. They stand as symbols of political intrigue, ambition, and the bitter cost of royal love and betrayal. But could there have been more wives? Women whose stories were lost, whose names faded into obscurity, whose very existence was wiped from the pages of history. Women who were perhaps more than just mistresses, more than fleeting affairs. What if some of these women were secret wives, marriages that were never acknowledged, never publicized, and erased from the royal records to protect the power structure of the Tudor dynasty? Let's journey into the heart of these dark secrets. Behind the lavish banquets and glittering crowns, there were whispers in the corridors of power, stories of betrayal, manipulation, and royal cover-ups. This was a world where alliances were forged and broken with deadly consequences. In this world, power was a game, and marriages were tools used to solidify that power. But in the shadows, Henry's love life was more complicated, and far more sinister, than we've been led to believe. In this part of our exploration, we will uncover 2 of these forgotten women, women who may have been more than just mistresses to Henry. Women who could have been his wives in secret, their names buried by time, their stories erased by royal politics. They were erased from history for a reason, but the truth of their existence still haunts the corridors of power, waiting to be discovered. Henry VIII's reign was marked by his relentless pursuit of a male heir. After the birth of his only surviving son, Edward VI, his obsession with securing the Tudor dynasty's future turned into a series of divorces, beheadings, and scandals. His marriages were both political and personal, each union representing the fragile balance of power in a kingdom constantly on the edge of turmoil. But what if some of these marriages weren't as straightforward as we think? What if some were hidden, their true nature disguised under layers of secrecy? The story of Henry's first marriage to Catherine of Aragon is well known. Henry, initially deeply in love with her, was desperate for a male heir, but Catherine could not provide one. Their union lasted over 20 years, but after multiple miscarriages, it became clear that Catherine could not give Henry the son he so desperately desired. Eventually, in a desperate attempt to secure his legacy, Henry sought an annulment, which led to a schism with the Roman Catholic Church and the formation of the Church of England. But even as he sought to divorce Catherine, Henry had already begun his relationship with Anne Boleyn, a woman who would forever change the course of history. Anne Boleyn, with her charm, beauty, and sharp intellect, captured Henry's heart. She was unlike any of his previous wives, and Henry became so consumed by his love for her that he was willing to break with the Catholic Church to marry her. But Anne's rise to power was not just a story of love. It was a story of ambition, political maneuvering, and the very real consequences of the power struggles that defined the Tudor court. Anne became Henry's second wife, but her reign as queen would be short-lived. Accused of treason, adultery, and incest, Anne was executed by beheading in 1536. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. In the midst of all this turmoil, there were 2 women, Elizabeth Blount and Mary Boleyn, whose names were tied to Henry in ways that history has largely ignored. Elizabeth Blount, a lady-in-waiting to Catherine of Aragon, was the first woman to bear Henry a son, Henry Fitzroy, born in 1519. Fitzroy's existence was a scandal in itself. As the illegitimate son of the king, Fitzroy was given a title, Duke of Richmond, and was even treated as a potential heir to the throne. But what if the relationship between Henry and Elizabeth was more than just an affair? What if Elizabeth Blunt was Henry's secret wife, married to him in a quiet, private ceremony to secure the bloodline that the king so desperately needed? We know that Henry's affection for Elizabeth was strong. They shared an intimate bond, one that resulted in the birth of Fitzroy, a child whose legitimacy was constantly questioned. Yet, despite their close connection, Elizabeth Blunt's name is rarely mentioned in the annals of royal history. Her story is one of erasure, her relationship with Henry, and her role in the royal court, hidden beneath layers of silence. Was she truly just a mistress, or was she the first secret wife of Henry VIII? This mystery deepens when we turn to Mary Boleyn, the older sister of Anne Boleyn. Mary's relationship with Henry has long been rumored to have been more than just a fleeting affair. Historians have speculated that she could have been Henry's mistress before and even entered the picture. But what if Mary was more than just a mistress? What if Henry and Mary were secretly married, perhaps in a clandestine ceremony, before and became the king's obsession? This theory suggests that Mary, the woman who could have been queen, was cast aside in favor of her sister, her existence overshadowed by Anne's rise to power. Mary was a woman of beauty and intelligence, traits that made her a dangerous figure at court. She caught Henry's eye at a time when he was searching for someone to fill the void left by Catherine. Their affair produced 2 children, both of whom were believed to be Henry's offspring. But the question remains, was their relationship merely an affair, or was it a secret union, a marriage concealed by the royal court to protect the reputation of the Tudor dynasty? As we peel back the layers of history, it becomes clear that the royal court was a place of intrigue, manipulation, and secrecy. Henry VIII's marriages were not just about love, they were about power, politics, and the survival of a dynasty. In this world of deception, it's not hard to imagine that there were more women than history remembers, women whose stories were buried, erased, or rewritten to maintain the power structure that Henry so desperately sought to control. Henry's court was a place where women were pawns in a deadly game of thrones. Marriages were arranged, discarded, or manipulated to suit the whims of a king who was constantly in search of power and stability. But beneath the surface, there were women who were more than just pawns. They were the victims of a system that sought to erase them, to diminish their power, and to silence their voices. Stay with me, as we continue to unravel the forgotten women of Henry VIII's court, their hidden lives, and the dark secrets that shaped England's history. In the next part of this journey, we will explore the consequences of these secret marriages and the tragic fates that awaited those who dared to love Henry VIII. The story of these lost wives is far from over, and their legacy is one that will continue to haunt the halls of history. The Tudor dynasty was built on a fragile foundation, one that was shaped by the relentless pursuit of power and survival. Henry VIII's quest for a male heir was more than just a personal desire, it was a political imperative. For a king to secure his dynasty, the future of his bloodline had to be ensured. But the story of Henry's marriages, far from being one of simple love, is a tale of manipulation, betrayal, and the dark consequences of royal ambition. In the shadow of these iconic marriages, there are other stories, stories of women whose fates were sealed not by public courtships or grand marriages, but by royal secrecy and the desperate pursuit of power. As we continue to unravel the lost wives of Henry VIII, we come to understand the true cost of his manipulations. These were not just women caught in the tide of royal ambition, they were pawns, discarded when their usefulness expired. For Elizabeth Blunt and Mary Boleyn, their relationships with Henry VIII were not just about love, they were about survival in a world where betrayal was constant, and a woman's power was as fleeting as the whims of a king. As we return to Elizabeth Blunt, her story becomes more intriguing with each passing moment. Blunt, a lady-in-waiting to Catherine of Aragon, found herself caught in the king's orbit during one of the most volatile periods of Henry's reign. It was a time of deep political and personal tension. Henry's marriage to Catherine was disintegrating, largely due to her inability to bear him a male heir. This drove Henry into the arms of other women, but his relationship with Elizabeth was unique. In 1519, Elizabeth Blunt gave birth to a son, Henry Fitzroy. Fitzroy's birth caused an immediate stir at the court. He was the son of the king, yet he was born out of wedlock, an illegitimate child, but one who was quickly treated with royal favor. Henry Fitzroy was given a title, Duke of Richmond, and was even positioned as a potential heir to the throne, a move that shook the foundations of the Tudor succession. But this was where things took a darker turn. Some historians have argued that the relationship between Henry and Elizabeth was far more than a mere affair. In fact, there are whispers of a secret marriage between the two. It's believed that Henry, desperate for an heir and weary of Catherine's failed pregnancies, may have married Elizabeth in secret to give legitimacy to Fitzroy's claim to the throne. If true, this would have made Elizabeth Blunt Henry VIII's first wife, one whose name never appeared on official records, erased in the chaos of the king's subsequent marriages. But why was Elizabeth's marriage to Henry kept hidden? Why, despite the royal favor shown to her son, was Elizabeth pushed to the margins of history? There are several theories. One possibility is that Henry's marriage to Elizabeth was kept a secret to avoid the wrath of Catherine of Aragon and the Catholic Church. The scandal of a marriage to a lady-in-waiting, particularly at a time when Henry was still married to Catherine, would have been politically disastrous. However, as time passed, Henry's affection for Elizabeth waned. She was removed from court, her son sent away to the royal household. Fitzroy, despite his noble title, was never granted the throne, and his death in 1536, at the young age of 17, marked the end of his potential claim. As for Elizabeth, her name disappeared from the royal records. What became of her after Fitzroy's death is uncertain, but her role in the Tudor dynasty, though pivotal, was erased, hidden beneath layers of royal secrecy. If Elizabeth Blunt's story is one of hidden love and erasure, then Mary Boleyn's fate is one of tragic ambition. As the older sister of Anne Boleyn, Mary's role in Henry VIII's life has been overshadowed by Anne's dramatic rise and fall. But Mary's story is just as important, if not more so. While Anne became the queen who changed the course of English history, Mary's relationship with Henry has been shrouded in mystery, one that has sparked much speculation. Mary Boleyn, a woman of striking beauty and keen intellect, caught the attention of Henry long before Anne did. In fact, many historians suggest that Henry's initial attraction to Anne may have been influenced by his earlier affair with Mary. Some even argue that Mary Boleyn, not Anne, could have been Henry's secret wife, his first true love, a woman with whom he may have shared an intimate marriage in secret. Mary and Henry's affair produced 2 children, both of whom were likely fathered by the king. Yet despite their intimate connection, Mary was pushed aside as Henry's obsession with Anne grew. Was she discarded for political reasons? Did she become a casualty in the pursuit of power and position, her place in the Tudor dynasty overshadowed by her younger sister's more strategic alliances? Historians have long debated the nature of Mary's relationship with Henry. Some believe she was simply a mistress, a woman who captivated the king for a time before being cast aside. But what if their relationship was more than just an affair? What if, before Anne, Henry had married Mary in secret, their union kept hidden to protect the fragile Tudor legacy? Mary's role in history was tragically short-lived. She was abandoned by Henry, and when Anne's rise to power began, Mary was forced to take a back seat. Despite her earlier favor with the king, Mary was left in the shadows, overshadowed by her sister's ambition. Her marriage to William Carey, a man of lesser stature, further diminished her place in the royal narrative. But her legacy, like Elizabeth's, is one of erasure, a woman whose story was written out of history to protect the future of the Tudor dynasty. As we look deeper into the lives of these 2 women, Elizabeth Blunt and Mary Boleyn, one thing becomes clear: their marriages, or the secret unions they may have had with Henry, were far more than personal affairs. They were political maneuvers, designed to secure power, manipulate alliances, and control the fate of England. These secret marriages, erased from the official records, reveal the true nature of Henry's reign, one in which love and marriage were mere tools to cement political power. At the heart of these secret unions lies a dark truth, that Henry VIII's marriages were not just about love or romance, they were about survival. These women, whether by choice or circumstance, were used by the king to solidify his power. And when their usefulness had ended, they were discarded, their names forgotten, their stories silenced by the forces of history. In the world of Tudor politics, betrayal and manipulation were constant. Power was the ultimate prize, and love was often a secondary concern. The lives of these secret wives were shaped by their relationship with Henry, but they were also shaped by the dangerous world they inhabited, one where survival depended on the whims of a king who could just as easily make and break alliances with a single word. The court of Henry VIII was a place of intricate webs, where every thread of ambition, passion, and betrayal was woven into a grand tapestry of political power. For Henry, marriage was never just a personal matter. It was the key to securing the throne, to consolidating his power, and to fulfilling the aspirations of the Tudor dynasty. But as we delve deeper into the history of his secret wives, we see that the women involved were not simply tools in Henry's political games. They were human beings, driven by their own desires, ambitions, and, at times, desperation. In the case of Elizabeth Blunt, her story is tragic not just because of her hidden marriage to Henry, but because of how she was manipulated by the very system that should have protected her. Henry, in his pursuit of a male heir, engaged in a secret marriage, perhaps as a desperate attempt to secure the bloodline that Catherine of Aragon had failed to provide. But despite bearing him a son who was granted royal status, Elizabeth was discarded when her usefulness came to an end. The relationship between Henry and Elizabeth must have been a complex one. On one hand, Henry was a king with immense power, a man whose whims could shape the future of nations. On the other hand, Elizabeth was a lady-in-waiting to Catherine of Aragon, a woman who had spent years in the royal court, loyal to the queen. Yet, when Henry's desires shifted, Elizabeth was swept into a secret union with him, an act that would change her life forever. What must Elizabeth have felt when she gave birth to Fitzroy? There must have been moments of hope, perhaps even a fleeting belief that her son could one day sit on the throne. But soon, the harsh reality set in. Henry's attention turned to Anne Boleyn, and Elizabeth, once the king's lover, was cast aside. The child she bore was raised with royal honors, but the title was meaningless in the grand scheme of Tudor politics. Fitzroy's death at a young age, with no heir to follow him, left Elizabeth's connection to the throne in shambles. Henry's coldness toward Elizabeth, despite her role in giving him a son, is a stark reflection of the ruthlessness with which he treated those who were once close to him. It was never about love for Henry, it was always about the throne. When Elizabeth's value to the king diminished, she was discarded. Her story is one of erasure, her name lost in the shadows of history, overshadowed by the more famous wives who came after her. Then there is the tragic tale of Mary Boleyn, the older sister of Anne Boleyn. While Anne's story is one of immense historical significance, Mary's role in the drama of the Tudor court has often been relegated to the margins. But her connection to Henry VIII is one of the darkest, most complex parts of royal history. Mary's affair with Henry VIII has been documented, but the true nature of their relationship remains clouded in mystery. Some suggest that Mary was Henry's mistress long before Anne entered the picture. Was Mary the first to capture Henry's heart, or was she merely the stepping stone to Anne's rise to power? The royal court was a place of treachery, where the affection of a king could elevate or destroy the women who were its recipients. Mary, like Elizabeth Blunt, was swept up in the tempest of Henry's desires, and her fate was ultimately sealed by her connection to him. Yet, what if Mary's relationship with Henry was more than just an affair? Some historians argue that Mary could have been Henry's secret wife, a union hidden from the public eye to preserve the stability of the Tudor bloodline. Could it be that, before Anne's dramatic rise to power, Henry and Mary were married in a quiet, secret ceremony? It would have been a marriage that could have kept her as the Queen of England, but her political ambitions, coupled with Anne's eventual influence over Henry, pushed her out of the royal spotlight. As Anne's position at court grew stronger, Mary faded into the background. She was married off to William Carey, a man of lesser status, and her connection to Henry was reduced to whispered rumors and historical footnotes. Yet, her legacy should not be overlooked. Mary was more than just a mistress to Henry. She was a woman with her own desires, and she used her charm and beauty to gain favor in a court that demanded both loyalty and cunning. But as history would show, her fall from grace was inevitable. Henry's obsession with Anne overshadowed Mary's role, and Anne's ultimate downfall sealed Mary's fate. Her name would never be as famous as her sister's, but her part in Henry's twisted love life is just as crucial to understanding the dark side of the Tudor dynasty. As we continue to examine the lives of Elizabeth Blunt and Mary Boleyn, we are forced to confront the harsh realities of the Tudor court. Marriage for Henry VIII was never about love or companionship, it was about politics. It was about power, control, and the survival of the Tudor dynasty. Each woman in Henry's life represented a stepping stone toward his ultimate goal, securing a male heir to continue the Tudor bloodline. Yet, for Elizabeth and Mary, the pursuit of power came at a cost. They were used, manipulated, and ultimately forgotten. The secret marriages, the whispered affairs, and the political alliances formed through Henry's relationships were all part of the deadly Game of Thrones played at the royal court. These women were pawns in a game that they could never truly control. Their power, fleeting as it was, depended entirely on their connection to the king. Once that connection was severed, they were discarded like so many others. And for Henry, there was always another woman to take their place, another opportunity to secure his legacy. It is worth considering the emotional cost of these hidden unions. What did these women feel, knowing that their fates were tied to a king who cared little for them once their purpose was fulfilled? Was there ever a moment of love between Henry and Elizabeth, between Henry and Mary? Or were they merely instruments in a game that Henry could never truly lose? His hunger for a male heir drove him to manipulate his wives, mistresses, and even secret wives with terrifying efficiency. For them, the consequences of Henry's actions were devastating. They were forgotten by history, erased from the narrative to protect the political stability of the Tudor dynasty. When we look at the history of Henry VIII, we see the faces of Catherine of Aragon, Anne Boleyn, Jane Seymour, and the others who left their mark on the pages of history. But what about the women who were hidden from view, whose lives were erased from the royal narrative? Elizabeth Blunt and Mary Boleyn were forgotten in favor of their more famous counterparts, yet their stories are no less important. Their experiences reveal the true cost of royal ambition, the dark side of Henry VIII's reign, and the tragic fate of women caught in the web of Tudor power. These secret wives, these hidden figures, offer a glimpse into a world of political intrigue, love, betrayal, and heartbreak. Their stories are far from over. The legacy of these women, whose names were buried beneath the sands of time, still lingers in the shadows of royal history. We may never know the full truth of their marriages to Henry VIII, but their lives, however obscured, hold the key to understanding the power dynamics of the Tudor court and the dangerous world in which they lived. Their stories may have been forgotten by history, but they are far from gone. Their silence speaks volumes about the darker corners of royal life, and the hidden secrets of Henry VIII's reign. As we draw the curtain on this exploration into the secret wives of Henry VIII, we are left with more questions than answers, questions that continue to haunt the shadows of royal history. Elizabeth Blunt, Mary Boleyn, and the women whose names have been lost to time were not merely forgotten footnotes in the grand narrative of Tudor England. They were players in a deadly game of power, politics, and ambition, a game where their roles were defined not by love, but by the need for survival and legacy. Henry VIII, a king consumed by his desire for a male heir, used marriage as a tool of control. His love affairs, his marriages, and his secret unions were not the romantic stories we might hope for, but instead a reflection of the ruthlessness of a man desperate to shape the future of his dynasty. For women like Elizabeth and Mary, their fates were sealed by their connection to a king whose desires shifted with the winds of courtly politics. While history remembers Henry's 6 wives, the forgotten stories of these secret marriages reveal a much darker truth, that in the world of royalty, love was often sacrificed for power, and women were expendable when their value had been spent. Elizabeth Blunt and Mary Boleyn were pawns in a game they could never truly win. They were discarded when they no longer served the king's purpose, their names erased from the official record to protect the fragile foundations of the Tudor dynasty. And yet, their stories, though buried, remain an integral part of the Tudor legacy. Their lives, marked by ambition, betrayal, and heartache, serve as a poignant reminder of the harsh realities faced by those who lived in the shadows of royal power. For every Anne Boleyn who made her mark in history, there were countless others whose names were forgotten, their contributions erased in the name of political expediency. In uncovering the dark secrets of Henry VIII's hidden wives, we are reminded that history is never as clear-cut as it seems. The women who were swept aside, their stories lost to time, still hold the key to understanding the power dynamics of one of England's most infamous reigns. Their legacies, though silenced, speak to the cruelty and complexity of royal life. These women may have been forgotten, but their lives, and the choices they were forced to make, have left an indelible mark on the pages of history. As we reflect on the lives of these secret wives, we are forced to confront the uncomfortable truth: in the world of Tudor politics, even love was a weapon, and even the most powerful of kings could not escape the darkness of his own desires. Their stories, though hidden, remind us that history is never fully written, it is always waiting, in the shadows, for the truth to emerge. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to hear more dark, twisted tales from history.